Revelation 12:17 states, "Then the dragon was enraged at the woman and went off to wage war against the rest of her offspring, those who keep God's commands and hold fast their testimony about Jesus." Now, in reading of the dragon's rage and subsequent warring, we shouldn't forget, this isn't the first time in the chapter that dragon sought to wage war. Furthermore, his defeat in his first attempt was by the blood of the Lamb, which hasn't changed, and the sacrificial testimony of the church, which allows us to be fairly confident that the second war against those who hold fast to their testimony about Jesus is sure to come to the same result. Then NIV continues telling us in chapter 13, verse 1, that the dragon stood on the shore of the sea. "And I saw a beast coming out of the sea. It had 10 horns and 7 heads, with 10 crowns on its horns, and on each head a blasphemous name." It's kind of a quirk of the text, but the NRSV translation actually places the first part of that, the dragon stood on the shore of the sea, in its own verse at the end of chapter 12. Rather than including it at the front end of chapter 13, verse 1. Based on certain ancient manuscripts, the King James Version includes this statement in chapter 13, like we have in the NIV, but translates it differently, such that these words are attributed to John. "And I stood upon the sand of the sea," rather than John saying that he saw the dragon standing there. Whichever perspective you choose isn't a huge deal, because the focus of the chapter is clearly on what John sees next, which are the 2 beasts which serve and carry out the will of the dragon. The first beast, as we read, comes out of the sea. The second in verse 11 comes from the land. Now, some suggest these are the Leviathan and Behemoth from the book of Job, representing the beasts of sea and land, respectively. Now, in extra-biblical Jewish writings, the 2 were symbolic of the powers of evil, and it was expected that they would be destroyed at the final judgment. John continues the description of the beast from the sea in verse 2, telling us, "And the beast I saw was like a leopard. Its feet were like a bear's. Its mouth was like a lion's mouth. And the dragon gave it power and his throne and great authority." The description is similar to several of the beasts in Daniel 7. Yet their traits are combined into one beast rather than spread out across multiple. Of course, as we discussed in Revelation 11, the beasts are representative of kingdoms. Now, given that the churches to which John was writing were in Asia Minor, and Roman ships arrived by sea, some suggest that the first beast is representative of Rome. But if the beast is strictly representative of the Roman Empire, we can all take a breath, couldn't we? After all, the Roman Empire is no more, meaning we don't have to worry about beast number 1. Except that doesn't seem to be how it works. The beast is whichever kingdom the dragon wants to use to attack and oppress God's people. Now, we'll go on to verses 3 and 4 next time. In the meantime, it's worth noticing the similarities between the beast and the dragon. The similarity in heads, horns, and crowns is to suggest that what the dragon does, the beast does. The beast is the dragon's means for accomplishing his will. And to this end, as we read in verse 2, the dragon gives the beast his throne and invests the beast with his authority. Well, that sounds awfully familiar, doesn't it? The dragon and the beast are simply a cheap 2-bit parody of God the Father, who shares his throne and grants his authority to the Son, that he would accomplish the Father's will. And because of this, we know that try as they might, the dragon and the beast will fail. They have failed. Because in and through the Son and his sacrifice, the Father's will has prevailed. for his glory and our good. Have a great week.